Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another uncanny episode of History of the Marvel Universe. Today's tale begins in Boston with the wealthy and powerful Frost family. Winston Frost was a ruthless businessman and head of the household. Never truly showing them any compassion or love, Winston held his children to ridiculously high standards. His oldest child, Christian, had already moved out, but his 3 daughters still lived at the Frost family estate. The elder daughter, Adrian, seemed to inherit her father's business sense and ethics, while the youngest, Cordelia, was the clear rebel of the group. But then there was the middle daughter, Emma. Normal, unassuming Emma Frost. Emma did her best to live up to her father's high standards, but of course nothing she did was ever good enough. From a young age, Emma dreamed of being a teacher, but her father was quick to stamp out this passion. Things weren't much easier at the Snow Valley School for Girls, as the other, more popular students would bully her mercilessly, and things were made all the more difficult by persistent headaches that Emma would sometimes get. Fortunately, she had a good relationship with her older brother Christian and was able to confide in him. Furthermore, her teacher, Ian Kendall, took a genuine interest in helping her improve her grades. He offered to tutor her, and Emma began to develop a schoolgirl crush. When Kendall was set to chaperone a school dance that Emma's father had forbidden her from attending, she decided to sneak out and go anyway. Christian supported his sister, not knowing about her crush, and even applied her makeup for her. Emma's glow-up seemed to make quite the impression on the other teens as the popular boys suddenly began to take an interest in her. But then one of her bullies jealously attacked, ripping her dress and thoroughly embarrassing her. Making matters worse, this caused her father to become aware of Emma's disobedience. Fortunately, her teacher continued to support and encourage her. However, her headaches worsened over time and she began hearing voices in her head. At one point, they became so intense that they even caused her to pass out. She was so frightened by this that she didn't tell anybody what was happening and simply tried to ignore the voices. But not long after that, Emma started hearing them while writing an important test. This time, however, she could sift through them and recognize them as the voices of the people around her. By listening to them and getting the answers, she was able to ace the test. She gained an even better understanding of what was happening when she faced off against her bully in fencing class. Emma realized that she could hear her opponent's thoughts, and as a result was able to be victorious. However, Emma's sudden improvement raised allegations of cheating, and so she was forced to rewrite the exam by herself. But because of the Frost family's donations to the school, the headmistress saw fit to throw out the results from the retest. However, Emma was determined to prove herself to the people around her and continued to use her mind-reading powers to excel. She even began tutoring the other students, which reignited her passion for teaching. Kendall took notice of this and encouraged Emma to pursue education as a career. Her father, of course, was less supportive, completely dismissing the idea. But she insisted that she would be a teacher and that Ian Kendall believed in her. And for a few weeks at least, Emma found happiness, tutoring the other students and receiving respect in return. Then one day, while being driven home, the limo broke down and her chauffeur was forced to head out for help. Ian came across Emma alone in her car and offered to drive her home. She eagerly took the offer but pretended to fall asleep so she could scan her teacher's thoughts. What she heard was him ruminating about how she was smart and beautiful, and wishing that he had met someone like her when he was her age. Emma then attempted to kiss him, but Kendall of course pushed away in shock. And Emma soon learned that the car hadn't actually broken down. The whole situation was a trap laid by her father so he could have Kendall removed from his position. Winston Frost blackmailed his own daughter, insisting that unless she gave up on her dreams of teaching, he would use what he saw to completely ruin Kendall's career. Emma grew more and more resentful of her father, but was forced to live under his rule. Tensions in the family finally boiled over during a vacation to the French Riviera. Emma was sent to retrieve her brother for the trip, but when she did so, another man came out of Christian's townhouse and brushed by. Although Emma touched him only briefly, this contact triggered another aspect of her burgeoning powers, and the man's memories began flowing into her. Emma learned that his name was Dante Ortega and that he was in a relationship with her brother Christian. Emma cared very deeply for her brother and was hurt by the fact that he'd kept this part of himself from her. At one point during the vacation, Emma witnessed her father fondling a younger woman while entering a club. She followed him inside, attempting to gain evidence to blackmail him, but instead found her brother with a suspicious patron. Emma sensed that her brother's drink had been spiked and attempted to rescue him from the dangerous situation. When she found herself unable to push through the crowd, she subconsciously sent out a psychic command that stunned everyone around her and allowed her to go after Christian. And with another psychic attack, she was able to save her brother from his would-be attacker. However, the commotion that Emma caused in the club had caught her father's attention. Winston didn't believe that Christian had been drugged and he brought his children home. Christian finally confided in Emma and told her about his relationship with Dante. However, that conversation was overheard and recorded by their sister Adrian. She then turned the tape over to their father, leading to another confrontation. When Christian refused to move back into the Frost estate, his father had him fired from his job and kicked out of his townhouse. Not only that, but he had Christian's boyfriend Dante framed and deported back to Cuba where he was born. After a failed suicide attempt, Christian turned to substance abuse, much to Emma's dismay. And instead of sending him to rehab or getting him the help he needed, Winston simply had his son locked away in a mental hospital. This was the day that Winston was set to choose which of his children would inherit his business. And much to everyone's shock, the one he chose was Emma. Emma, however, had had enough and no longer wanted anything to do with her corrupt father or his business. She decided instead to leave, starting from nothing to make her own way in the world. It's also been said in some tellings of Emma's backstory that Winston Frost became aware of the voices in his daughter's head and discreetly had her institutionalized for a time. However, it's unclear when exactly this occurred in relation to the other events of her life, and she eventually used her powers to escape anyway. She worked several low-rent jobs, but was continually fired for her refusal to kowtow to unreasonable customers. And with her funds running low, she soon discovered another use for her psychic power. By focusing on another person, she could make them see what she wanted them to see, essentially giving her the power to cast illusions. She attempted to use this new ability to treat herself to a full meal at an expensive restaurant, making the waitress see a scrap of paper as a $100 bill. However, she was caught by the management and forced to work off her debt by washing dishes. This is where she met and befriended one of the staff, a boy named Troy Kilkelly. Emma confided in him, telling her about her family, but of course omitting the parts about her psychic powers. And so Troy offered her a place to stay until she could get back on her feet. This wasn't exactly safe either though, as Troy owed a large sum of money to a local loan shark. After Troy attempted to make the money back in a casino and failed spectacularly, Emma convinced him to let her try, and with her mind-reading ability, she was able to earn everything he needed in games of poker. However, the loan shark, Lucien, wasn't satisfied. He wanted interest on top of what he was given, giving Troy only 1 day to pay up. And after failing to get the money needed, Troy and Emma were captured by Lucien. It seemed the loan shark intended to execute his 2 victims, but then Troy came up with a plan. He told Lucien that Emma's father was rich, and if they all worked together, they could trick him into paying a ransom for Emma's safety. Lucien agreed and sent Winston Frost a tape of his daughter being held captive, demanding $250,000 for her safe return. However, Winston's response was that his daughter was no longer worth anything to him. Troy tried to protect Emma from an enraged Lucien by stealing his gun, but Lucien overpowered the smaller man, shooting and killing Troy. Complicating matters further, Adrian leaked Emma's ransom tape to the press, effectively forcing her father to act as if he cared about his daughter's safety, to avoid a PR nightmare. Winston agreed to pay 2/3 of the ransom up front and deliver the final portion after her safe return. Overhearing the location of the drop, Emma used her powers to turn her captors against each other, making them think they were shooting each other while she rendered them all unconscious. Emma then escaped and claimed the ransom money for herself, making sure to psychically mask herself so nobody could see her at the agreed location. She used this money to make a fresh start for herself. She moved to New York City, dyed her hair blonde, and had cosmetic surgery including breast implants. She attended Empire State University, where her psychic abilities allowed her to easily excel in all of her classes. Her roommate was a woman named Christy McDermott, who Emma got along with well. However, protests began to gather at the school. Protests against the so-called mutant menace, people born with extraordinary powers. And for the first time, Emma started to realize where her abilities had come from. She would learn even more about her power when she met another psychic mutant at the school named Astrid Bloom. Astrid taught Emma how to focus and better control her power, specifically how to block out other people's noisy thoughts by visualizing a strong barrier in her mind. In Emma's case, it was diamond. However, old wounds were opened again when Emma learned that her roommate Christy was being tutored by her old teacher Ian Kendall. Not only that, but scanning Christy's thoughts, Emma learned that she and Ian were secretly dating. Emma confronted Ian and forced him to admit his relationship with Christy. Furthermore, Emma pushed herself onto him and convinced him to begin dating her instead. Of course, this led to a falling out between Emma and Christy when Ian told her what had happened. When Christy threatened to report Ian's behavior to the school administration, he suddenly attacked her. However, this was because Astrid had taken psychic control over him and had been manipulating things to control Emma's life, and ultimately control Emma. It didn't take her long for Emma to figure out what Astrid had done and confront her about it. However, the sinister psychic stopped her opponent by pulling her consciousness into her own mind and locking it there. But Emma took advantage of her time inside Astrid's head by absorbing and learning all of her training and practice. With her own powers now stronger than ever, Emma Frost easily defeated and shut down Astrid Bloom. This also appears to be where Emma first adopted her British affectation, with Astrid being British. However, when she told Ian the truth of what had happened, including that she was a mutant, he was horrified and wanted nothing to do with her. At the end of the day, she had mastered her powers, but she was alone once more. After completing her schooling, she excelled in the world of business, becoming the majority stockholder and CEO of a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate which she renamed Frost International. This was made all the easier for her as she could use her powers to go wherever she wanted and learn whatever secret she needed. However, she never truly forgot her passion for teaching, and so she also used her position and power to become the head mistress of the prestigious Massachusetts Academy. At some point, she also found employment as an exotic dancer at the notorious Hellfire Club, a powerful organization made up of the social elite, where men wore Victorian-era fashion and the women were clad in lingerie. Some sources imply that this career as a stripper was during a low point in her life, but the official handbook of the Marvel Universe claims that this happened after Emma was already a successful businesswoman, meaning she did this out of choice and not out of necessity, possibly as a way of getting into the exclusive club. After all, Emma was never bothered by the revealing outfits that she was expected to wear. She saw them as yet another tool in her arsenal, another way to manipulate the people around her. Whatever the case, despite her lack of training or experience as a dancer, Emma was able to use her powers to easily woo and impress the onlookers, making them see whatever she wanted them to. She even performed directly for the club's leaders, the Council of the Chosen, the Lords Cardinal of which were named for chess pieces, the White King, the Black Queen, etc. These powerful aristocrats secretly plotted world domination through political and economic manipulation, a fitting place for a woman like Emma Frost. And she soon found a way in when she caught the attention of the Black Bishop Sebastian Shaw. Like Emma, Shaw was also a mutant, but his power was to absorb kinetic energy and convert it to strength. In other words, the more you hit him, the stronger he becomes. But the White King and Queen at the time were the couple of Edward Buckman and Paris Seville. One of Buckman's plans involved financially supporting Stephen Lang's Project Armageddon, which sought to build new mutant-hunting Sentinel robots. The White King claimed that the program's purpose was simply to help the club gain more wealth and power, but Emma's mind-reading abilities allowed her to learn the truth. The revelation that Buckman desired the eradication of all mutants came a little too late, however, as a completed Sentinel attacked Shaw's beach house. Sebastian Shaw was able to defeat the killer robot, but unfortunately during the battle, his lover, Lord Chantel, was killed by a spear fired by the Sentinel, and so the remaining mutants in the Hellfire Club rebelled against the White King. Emma Frost psionically controlled Buckman and forced him to kill those who were loyal to him, including his own White Queen. Sebastian Shaw then killed Buckman with his bare hands and declared himself the new Black King of the Hellfire Club. The Council of the Chosen were no more, instead replaced by Shaw's Inner Circle. And of course, as part of this Inner Circle, Emma Frost became the new White Queen. Soon after this, Emma began recruiting young mutants into her school as a way to strengthen the Hellfire Club's power base. These youths would soon form the basis of Frost's first mutant team, the Hellions. Emma initially encountered the X-Men when she and Xavier both attempted to recruit a young Kitty Pryde into their respective schools. In an attempt to ensure that Kitty enrolled in the Massachusetts Academy, Frost abducted several members of the X-Men, including Professor X himself. However, Kitty witnessed this and helped free the captured heroes. And after a battle between the X-Men and the forces of the Hellfire Club, Kitty enrolled in Xavier's school to someday become an X-Man herself. This would kick off a rivalry between Frost's Hellions and Xavier's X-Men and New Mutants, which lasted for some time. However, when Emma discovered that members of the Hellfire Club's inner circle were being assassinated by an unknown enemy, she turned to the X-Men for help. This enemy was a group known as the Upstarts, founded by the Black Queen Selene as a part of a scheme to eliminate her rivals. While Emma was discussing a truce with the X-Men, one of the Upstarts, a terrorist from the future named Trevor Fitzroy, attacked the Hellfire Club. Fitzroy also sent a group of Sentinels to attack the former White Bishop, Donald Pierce. However, Pierce used the mutant gateway to teleport away, inadvertently leading the killer robots back to the Hellfire Club. The X-Men joined forces with Frost's students to combat the Sentinels, but the Hellions were killed in the ensuing battle and Emma Frost was badly injured, leaving her comatose. She was brought back to the X-Mansion to recover, but while there, a short circuit in the power grid caused her consciousness to inadvertently lash out and possess Iceman. While in this form, Emma escaped and learned of what had happened to the Hellions, leaving her completely devastated by the loss of her students. And after returning to her own body, Emma vowed to do better and allied herself with the X-Men. The Massachusetts Academy became part of the Xavier Institute, and Emma stood alongside veteran X-Man Banshee to train a new team of mutants called Generation X. While Emma was able to use Frost International to fund the school, eventually a failure in the stock market caused her finances to drop considerably. Emma intended to use her powers to rebuild her fortune, but Banshee talked her out of it, insisting that she lead a good example for the children. And so Emma swallowed her pride and decided to instead ask her sister Adrian for help. Adrian agreed on the condition that she be made the co-headmaster of the school, but this was only because she was monumentally resentful of her sister and desperately wanted to hurt her. Her first scheme was to trap Emma and her students in an illusory recreation of the night the Hellions died, and force Emma to watch Generation X meet the same fate. After this failed, she publicly outed the school as a safe haven for mutants and incited a riot. Not only that, but she planted bombs around the school, one of which exploded and took the life of a student named Sink. Since Adrian was immune to her sister's psychic powers, an enraged Emma shot and killed Adrian with a regular gun. Not long after this, Generation X was officially disbanded and the Massachusetts Academy closed its gates for good. However, Emma was soon contacted by Professor Xavier and offered a teaching position in Genosha, an island nation populated by mutants. Unfortunately, Genosha would end up being the stage for one of the most infamous mutant genocides in history, when a new breed of Sentinel attacked and wiped out over 16 million mutants. Emma Frost only survived the devastation because amidst the fire she developed a secondary mutation, transforming her body into living diamond. Although she loses access to her psionic abilities while in this form, her strength and durability increase dramatically. In addition, Emma Frost is impervious to psychic attack while in diamond form and can easily switch back and forth whenever needed. Despite all the tragedy she endured, Emma continued to fight alongside the X-Men, even developing a relationship with their field leader, Cyclops. In the end, Emma Frost is unlike most X-Men. She's cold, calculating, and sometimes even sinister. But underneath her diamond exterior, she's still a teacher, and a woman who will do whatever it takes to protect those under her care. And that is the story of Emma Frost. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, share the video, and subscribe for more marvelous content. Be sure to leave a comment letting me know what Marvel hero or villain you want to hear about next, and as always, the issues referenced in this video are listed in the description below if you would like to read them for yourself, as well as links to other places you can find me, including my Twitch channel where Tier 1 subscribers will actually get access to a sassy Emma Frost emote usable both on Twitch and Discord. So until next time, true believers, Excelsior!